ladies, MBs and gents. In this video I want to discuss cyberbullying. It's become apparent to me that much like many other legal issues, people on YouTube seem to be quite alarmingly ill-informed on the topic, so I'd like to try and help fix that. I'd like to start with having a look at what Australian law has to say about cyberbullying. Acorn explain, cyberbullying or stalking occurs when someone engages in offensive, menacing or harassing behaviour through the use of technology. It can happen to people at any age, any time and often anonymously. Examples of cyberbullying include posting hurtful messages, images or videos online, repeatedly sending unwanted messages online, sending abusive texts and emails, excluding or intimidating others online, creating fake social networking profiles or websites that are hurtful, nasty online gossip and chat, and any other form of digital communication which is discriminatory, intimidating, intended to cause hurt or make someone fear for their safety. According to the ALRC, cyberbullying in Australia is currently punishable by up to 3 years imprisonment or a fine of up to $19,800. If you're an Australian YouTuber who wants to argue that it's not you, but rather your subscribers who engage in cyberbullying, you should be aware that Australian law may still find you guilty of aiding, abetting, counselling or procuring the commission of cyberbullying if they aren't convinced that you have taken reasonable steps to prevent the commission of cyberbullying. I stress it's not you and or your subscribers who need to be convinced that you've taken reasonable steps, rather it is those who enforce the law. If we now have a look at UK law, according to the Malicious Communications Act 1988, it is an offence to send any electronic communication that is indecent or grossly offensive and or to send such a communication with the intent to cause distress or anxiety. Unlike Australian law, cyberbullying in the UK only carries with it a maximum prison sentence of 2 years. It's also possible for cyberbullies to face a fine, although the Act doesn't specify an amount. These laws should by no means be looked upon as empty threats. NoBullying.com details some examples of people who have been prosecuted for cyberbullying. Much as with Australian law, if a UK YouTuber wants to argue that it's not them but rather their subscribers who are engaging in cyberbullying, then they do well to familiarise themselves with the Serious Crimes Act 2007, which states, a person commits an offence if a. he does an act capable of encouraging or assisting the commission of an offence, and b. he believes 1. that the offence will be committed, and 2. that his act will encourage or assist its commission. Cyberbullying is also illegal in Canada. The Government of Canada lists a number of types of cyberbullying. Of particular relevance to YouTube are criminal harassment, intimidation, counselling suicide, and incitement of hatred. When it comes to US law, things get a great deal more complicated as there are 50 states, each with their own legislation on the matter. I don't have time to go over all 50 states, but I would recommend doing some research on the state you live in by using the resource provided by stopbullying.gov. US legal have the following to say about harassment. Harassment is governed by state laws, which vary by state, but is generally defined as a course of conduct which annoys, threatens, intimidates, alarms, or puts a person in fear of their safety. Harassment is unwanted, unwelcomed and uninvited behaviour that demeans, threatens or offends the victim and results in a hostile environment for the victim. Harassing behaviour may include, but is not limited to, epithets, derogatory comments or slurs and lewd propositions, assault, impeding or blocking movement, offensive touching or any physical interference with normal work or movement, and visual insults such as derogatory posters or cartoons. A word that may have surprised a number of you that has popped up a few times in this overview is the word offence. After all, everyone on YouTube knows that you don't have a right not to be offended, right? The phrase, you don't have a right not to be offended, is what's known in research jargon as a woozle. That is, something which has been cited so many times that it is taken as a given, with few people ever bothering to actually check whether or not it's true. In reality, it's sort of true, but context is crucial. For example, under UK law, specifically the Public Order Act 1986 and the Race and Religious Hatred Act 2006, you are allowed to express antipathy, dislike, ridicule, insult or abuse of particular religions or the beliefs or practices of their adherents, or of any other belief system or the beliefs or practices of its adherents, which would undoubtedly offend certain people, but you are not allowed to use words or written material to try and stir up religious or racial hatred. I go into this in a bit more detail in my video, Free Speech versus Free Speech, which I shall link below. As regards American YouTubers who might wish to palm off responsibility for cyberbullying onto their subscribers, they might have a bit more flexibility than Britons and Australians, but nonetheless, they do well to check if their behaviour might incite what is known as imminent lawless action. You are, of course, under no obligation to agree with the law, but if that's the case, you need to put the effort into changing said laws. And before you start clattering away in the comment section, I must stress that it isn't me you need to convince, rather it is those who pass such legislation. The same goes if you choose to pedantically interpret the letter of the law so as to excuse your own behaviour. It is those who enforce the law who you will need to convince, should you find yourself under investigation, not me nor any of your subscribers. I cannot stress enough how serious an issue cyberbullying is. In the past it has cost people their lives. If you are experiencing cyberbullying, and if the website upon which it is taking place, such as YouTube, are unwilling to enforce their own terms of service and deal with the situation, then I would advise you report it to the police. Don't think this is overzealous action on your part, and don't think the fact that these cyberbullies might hide behind anonymity will make them immune from the legal consequences of their actions. As NoBullying.com explain, social media websites have been persuaded to provide the real names and other relevant details of cyberbullies to law enforcement in the past in the interests of pursuing justice. Thank you for watching. Comments on this video will remain open so long as they remain predominantly constructive and civil. Seeing as I have taken the time to provide relevant legal and academic citations in this video, I think it's only reasonable that anyone wishing to do a response does the same. I'd also ask that if you're someone who puts this disclaimer in your videos, then I'd like to preemptively invoke this part about having the link to the original video removed and ask that you don't include it in the first place. The same goes for any other of my videos that you might wish to respond to. If you aren't willing to comply with this request, then I guess we can take it that this disclaimer is insincere. The same goes for sharing this video to any other platform or any other activity which is likely to incite dogpiling. Goodbye.